Right, guys, we promised you last week that we do a double ender, and here it is, part 2, Martin Keown. You've had a period away from Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
Aston Villa, Everton, teams that, did they make you stronger? Did you have good experience? Did it make you a better person and player having gone out to other clubs?
Wow, I went to Villa, and immediately I got there. As soon as I made the decision, it was based on a financial decision. Arsenal really offering me a £50 a week rise. That suddenly Aston Villa are doubling my wages. £1,000 sign-on fee for Arsenal, 25,000 to go to Villa. Doug Ellis is the perfect stranger, suddenly my friend, telling me all the things I wanted to hear at Arsenal, and I make a decision based on emotion, not really what I wanted to do. I arrived there at the training ground, first day, Paul Elliott puts a hand out. Remember Paul Elliott, big centre-half. What on earth are you doing here? What did you sign for us for? And I'm like, well, what an introduction that is. I got Steve Hodge saying he wants to leave the club. He'd been successful in that summer playing for England in '86. Everybody there seemed to want to leave. And I thought, oh dear, this is not going to go well. Pre-season was a joke. People jogging around the pitch. I went to see Ron Wiley and said, look, we're going to get relegated. I think we're going to get... What do you know? You're on page 22. I'm on page 222. And I said, I don't care what page you're on. We're not working hard enough. We're too good to go down. We weren't. We got relegated. So I kind of had to dig my way out of that. And then Graham arrived, Graham Taylor. I don't know if you had the chance to play.
Oh, you signed me at Aston Villa, the second time round.
Yeah, and amazing manager. The impact he had when he came in was, I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. He'd been at other clubs and he goes around the room. He's in Tony DiRigo's ear saying, don't tell me you're not being tapped. He said, because I know where you're going to Chelsea and your agent's been on the phone to me at Watford, so don't fucking lie to me. I know half of you want to go. If you want to go, there's the door. Go on, piss off now. And we all looked at the door because the place was a disgrace. And he was on. He said, "If you stay."
Anyone walk through? Everyone go, "Yeah, me, boss."
Well, we were tempted. We were tempted. But he was like, "If you stay with me, I'm a successful type personality. We're going to find success. It's a foregone conclusion." He meant it so much. And the funny thing was, 3 games in, or 4 games in, we're bottom of the table. And he has another meeting saying, "I'm even more convinced now that we'll get promoted." Who's doubting themselves? 22 players came and went, and he brought really good people together. People like Mark Lillis came in, Alan McAnally came in. Alan was a great athlete. And we played this really direct football. We took us to he wanted us to train at Villa Park. He wouldn't let us live more than 10 miles away from the ground. We had a throw-in competition. He wanted to hurl the ball into the box. You name it, set pieces was really full on. And it was a fantastic experience. Steve Harrison was the coach, and Steve was just laugh a minute. And unfortunately, he left with 3 or 4 months to go of the season. We dipped a bit, but we got promoted, and it was nice to give back to the Villa fan what we'd taken away, because it was our fault that we got relegated, and it was a big burden to carry. I can tell you, you couldn't even walk the street. I didn't think I could walk the streets of Birmingham really until we got promoted. You felt embarrassed because they'd won the Champions League 4 years earlier. And we were a part of this demise. Never mind the fact that I was Player of the Year. I took no credit for that or any joy in that. In that first season, it was a massive roller coaster. Going to Aston Villa.
It was turned round, right? When you got back, promotion, and then obviously Villa have a successful period.
Yeah, but my ability to make the right decisions, he was trying to keep me there, Graham. And he kept saying to me, I'm signing this incredible centre-half to play alongside you. He wouldn't tell me who it was. And I was like, right, okay, point of principle again. You need to tell me, otherwise I'm not staying. Paul McGrath didn't tell me. And then I went to Everton, probably shouldn't have gone to Everton. Aston Villa were offering me really low wages, shall we say, but they were claiming it was the best offer. Mark Walter's been offered something similar. And then they 3 times more money on the last day. And I was like, well, wow, where's this come from? But we need to find, who am I playing with? No, you might tell Man United where he was coming from. You might tell Derby, Forest, and all the clubs I was in talks with. So I went to Everton. And
did you never get to play with Paul McGrath?
Never got to play with Paul McGrath.
So was that because they? Wow. Did you feel that there was a trust that wasn't being reciprocated there, or what was it really that thing that meant that you felt you had to move?
The thing was with Graham was that our first coming together was always a bit ding dong. We had quite a lot of rows, and look, he was a good man, but it was one of those where, as a young player, he could have gave me more leadership skills. He could have given me the reins a bit more. He never really did that, and so therefore there was a trust element where, with managers that I worked with, that I thought, like, my father was like this. Okay, so he believed in me. He pushed me, but essentially he believed in what I was doing. With Graham, I wasn't completely sure, and he didn't trust me enough to tell me who I was going to play with. They finished second that next season, Aston Villa, and I go to Everton. We finished fifth, which you might say is not bad, but we got beat badly at Villa Park, and I felt again a little bit embarrassed. And I kept, am I able to make a good decision of where to go? Everywhere I jumped to Villa, I jumped to Everton, and that's, when it came round again. I don't want to skip Everton out here now, because I'll talk whatever you want to talk about with Everton. But I jumped back again to Arsenal to say, right, okay, let's go back to the club where it's unfinished business. That seems to be my club, because we're not winning anything. I get in the England squad at Everton, but we're not fulfilling that potential. So let's get back there. So ultimately, that's what I ended up doing.
Did you not enjoy it at Everton? What was the... like you say, fifth in the league. We've got an Evertonian behind who'd bite your arm off for it at the moment. For fifth at the minute.
Do you know they were yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. But you got to remember, actually, they'd won the championship twice in the 80s. They played in the cup final that summer when I got there, Liverpool, Everton, 89, but just had Hillsborough, and it was a terrible thing, that cloud really hanging over Merseyside. But I wanted to go, it was a hotbed of football. I wanted to go and experience it. It was amazing. The training ground just backed on to, Bill Shankly used to overlook the training ground at Everton, so it was a really nice working feeling. But what I found there was a group of players that had won many things and weren't really accepting the next group in. And that was your Tony Cottage, your Stuart McCalls, your Neil McDonalds. And we were in the second tranche of players. Norman Whiteside, what a fantastic talent. Now Norman had to finish through injury, but he was a great player. And I was fine at the start. I was coming in with those guys. And then I moved house to Southport. And then it was the mafia really over there. And I found myself in the young group, and then was trying to defend that group. And there was a fight, which I regret, with Kevin Sheedy, which was all across the papers. And then I had to detach
Physical fight.
Yeah, but he'd said too much, personal things about, which about my brother, which weren't football matters. I had to pull away then and just be my own entity. And then slowly Howard came in, Howard Kendall, and my career then started to really go upwards. And I got into the England squads. Howard was brilliant for me. Again, trusted me, believed in me, pushed me. But in that period at Everton, I had a chronic back injury, and I was in agony with my back. I'd go home and lie on the floor. For 2 years, I was doing this. I was playing for England, and I couldn't stand up straight if I bent down. So I went through all that period at Everton, somehow managing to get on the pitch. But strangely, lads, I don't know if you've had this, but less was more, because I had to pick and choose. I couldn't run around like an idiot anymore. I couldn't make all these tackles. I became more like a Rolls Royce. And I thought, and then suddenly these rave reviews, what's happened to Keown? His performances are getting better. He's picking and choosing. He's more calmer. I was in agony, but it made me a better player.
Really? I
didn't train in the week. I used to run on the beach, down at Freshfield Beach, Formby, around on the beach down there. We'd be on a bike. I went to the Spit and Sawdust boxing clubs, me and Norman. We'd go in a front room, they'd ring a bell. I did that, and then turn up, and Howard used to say, don't have to train, Martin, just do what you do every week. And that was what happened. It was,
your training was boxing.
Yeah, because the cardiovascular work to try to get that work done, but there's the jumping and landing, which was destroying my back. So that if it was good enough for Red Rum running on the beaches in Merseyside, it was deemed
that's great.
Good enough.
So was he obviously Howard Kendall, a legend, right? So how was he with you? Was it an unbelievable experience?
Well, do you know, I'm telling tales out of school maybe, but Howard, I followed him home after he just arrived at the club first away game, and I thought, hold on, something's wrong, the car's not right. He went to a filling station, I stopped and followed him home. We lived not walking distance from each other. So I said, look, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take you home after every away game. And no one knew, because everyone just storms off, as you know. You get back to the training ground, everyone just can't get away quick enough. So I took him home for about 18 months. I took him home. We talk about the game. We sometimes go to the Freshfield pub, where I think Jurgen Klopp's been talking about that pub recently.
So we have a saying on this thing called parched. So it means that basically you're very tight with the manager. Is this the case with you? Are you
the original parched?
Are you the original parched? You and Howard Kendall?
Do you know what?
It's brave, isn't it?
No, it was the case of, like, I knew this guy was a bit special. I didn't want him across the papers or to lose this manager. And I thought this guy could maybe put my career back where I want it to be. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take you home. No one's going to know until now. And we'll just do this, right? But he was a great man, great talker. You know, just maybe sometimes he drank too much. And I think and everyone knew that. But he was a good time man. He wanted to have a good time, maybe just a bit too often, maybe lost his way a little bit, didn't have the budget perhaps when he came back. But he was Everton's most successful manager ever. And we had Colin Harvey there with him, another great footballing man. They loved football. But, you know, as I say, that environment was difficult. Kevin Ratcliffe didn't welcome me to the club, said he would hang his boots up if ever I got in front of him. That's exactly what I was making him do. I'd come there to make sure he hung up his boots, but he was only 28 years of age. So he had every right to hang on to that place. And who was I to take that away from him? He christened me Bob, Brain of Britain, in a disparaging way. And I'm not frightened to say that. I didn't believe that was the case, but he did everything he could to undermine me. And then, of course, years later, when I'm at Arsenal and I've got people taking my place, I help them to take my place. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, you know, I don't care. It's all fair in love and war. We're all there for the team. But, you know, it was difficult in those early days, okay, at Everton. I remember when I arrived in Japan, first trip away, Neville Southwood licked one shoe, nicked my passport, and I'm going through passport control. Can you picture the scene? I'm limping through passport control, and I get there and I've got no passport. Neville's nicked my passport, which was all fun and games, but all of it's starting to discredit you a little bit with the group. And look, everyone's laughing at you and mocking you. And then you're watching the first game of the season and Colin Harvey's saying, you're not playing. What do you mean I'm not playing? Man United wanted me, Forest wanted me, Derby, all the top guys, but we never had a conversation about me playing. No, you will play, but you're not playing now. So that was tough. And I had to suck it up and didn't play there for the first 3 months, and didn't play till October, because Kevin Ratcliffe was injured. So I had all of those things to face. But in the end, you climb that mountain, and eventually you're playing. Dave Watson was a really good central defender, by the way. A little bit more pace. Kevin could have played for England many more times than I think the 12 occasions he did. Neville was fantastic. You just learnt not to look at Neville when the ball went in the back of the net, because if you did, it was your fucking fault. But
it was that difficult. Like you see those characters there. I mean, they're legends. You were talking about at Everton.
The only thing all they were guilty of, Peter, was the fact that they didn't welcome. You know, no one's at our level. And when I got to Arsenal, we had 3 or 4 years of barren spell. The guy coming in, I felt for him a little bit. It's not your fault. No. It's our fault. We got to help you to play better. It went the opposite way, but only because the Everton situation had taught me that. You know, some of those guys coming in were actually just as good as they were at Everton. Do you know, and we went on to prove that. But everyone was being tarred with the same brush. And that really is, but I can't understand it, because they look at Peter Reid leaving, Bracewell leaving, Gary and Trevor Stevens, great footballers leaving the football club, and you're left behind. And Howard's gone to Bilbao, and Colin's in charge, and they're all suspicious, and then they're suspicious of us. It wasn't a good environment. I wasn't smart when I chose to go there. Could have avoided it, but it made me a better person for it.
Yeah, and where'd you go then? How did you get out of that situation?
Well, Howard Kendall, what I tried to do was negotiate a new deal, and I went in to discuss it day before a game, and Howard suddenly went, wait there, below the table, got some champagne out and went, we're not accepting that offer, or giving you a contract. We're going to accept an offer from Arsenal. Go and speak to them tomorrow. Don't go to the press, because he said the wages aren't amazing there. So I'm not sure if you're going to sign for it. But of course, Peter, I'd already spoken to them behind the scenes. I knew what they were paying me. I knew the wages weren't great, and I was ready to accept that and go back and start again at Arsenal.
In a roundabout way, I kind of did the same thing at Tottenham, the other side of North London. I was Tottenham right the way through my youth team. Signed professional contract at Tottenham. Never made a professional debut. Obviously, you did better than me in that scenario. But I left, went everywhere, came back, and ended up finally at Tottenham. So coming back for you must have been must have been special.
Well, you would have felt the same. You feel that you have to pinch yourself. Is this for real? Because it was, for me, it was like on for finished business that I need to put right. And I've come into a dressing room with Merson, Adams, my fellow colleagues from the youth team, the only ones left on a pedestal, and not necessarily liking everything about the people in front of me, which is fine now. We've made our peace, and Tony is the normal Tony Adams that I knew, and Mercer's pretty well back to where he was, but they've had a lot in between. And then it was about me being accepted in. Tony said he couldn't give a shit who was playing next to, but I was back with where I started. And then eventually, of course, I had to wait though, didn't I? I got injured, missed the cup final through Cup Winners' Cup final. George was desperate trying to get me out. I played 9 of the 11 games. Nothing seemed to work until Mr. Wenger turns up, and then it made it all worthwhile. With all that pain, watching them being successful, to finally tasting it myself, it tasted. And Geordie Armstrong, when we win the league in the FA Cup final, I went off the pitch quickly. He went, "Martin, get back out here. Where are you going? Stand here with me and take it all in." Because I didn't do that myself as a player of 71. And that was the mantra, wasn't it? You had Donnell telling you how the 71 group were superhuman. And he dragged me back out onto the pitch to take it all in. And that's when I started to realise, okay, and Geordie played a part in bringing me back, that, it was worthwhile. Whatever I went through, to now be back at Arsenal, finally winning something, was truly a fantastic. I felt blessed.
Did you allow yourself to have a happy moment then? Because a lot of what you've discussed today, it feels like you've found annoyances with people, frustrations that perhaps were largely in your brain and not necessarily everyone else's around you.
It's about
but
standards.
To drive yourself.
It was right. Of course it was right. Now I know it was right. People try to tell me it wasn't right. It's not normal, but it is normal. If you want to win something, I bet if you had a conversation with Pep now, he's obsessional about his football, about winning. He's in there now telling them we can't afford to lose again. It has to be that kind of obsession. But the part that I hope comes over in the book is the funny stories, the laughs, Ian Wright driving the team bus, Dennis Bergkamp, he was like clothes police, hanging you clear up, 30 foot in the air when you came in the morning.
I didn't have Dennis down as the clothes, like giving grief about the clothes.
Oh my God, yeah. Brilliant. He was so funny. Overmars would come into your room and he'd spray with your aerosol, your toothbrush, and you thought he was using the loo, but he wasn't. He was sabotaging your gear, pinched all your chocolate out of your bag, and it was like, don't let him in here again, that little so-and-so, where's he been? But all those, Ray Parlour, we didn't get to talk about the Inspector Clouseau movies he affectionately put these on for 18 months, and then the gaffer realised he was taking a piss when we were away at Wimbledon, and Ray Parlour says it's a bomb, and the boss suddenly realised, hold on, he's taking the piss. So there was
what's he got on? Inspector Clouseau, what's he got on? What's he wearing?
Well, no, Clouseau's wearing like a raincoat, isn't he?
The raincoat, yeah. So he's wearing that.
No. It's just his voice. So the gaffer sometimes he'd slip. He was doing passing, and one day was doing passing in the goal with Jono, and he ends up, both feet are stuck in the net, and he's like, "Get me down, Jono! Fuck's sake, get me down!" He was like, so we ran past, and then we're all laughing at him, and he's like, "I love it. My players are laughing." He never had a problem laughing at himself. Yeah. He was really good fun like that. But the Clouseau stuff was maybe a bit of truth, and Ray was playing on that. And then this particular day, I think the gaffer went, "All right, is he taking the piss? Right, no more Clouseau movies."
We haven't touched enough, I don't think, on Ray Parlour or Ian Wright, because Ian Wright, to me, when I was growing up, and you talked about his movement there, and I think that sharpness of movement, it might have been different to Dennis's, but in the box, you'd sometimes need those 5 different movements, to get a bit of space. How good was he as a player?
I played against him, and we had a couple of tear-ups, and he wanted to train against me, so both of us wanted to train against each other. But Ian had, you talk about books, little black book. He had a little book, and literally time would stop still when he was in front of goal. And you could look at him, see him flicking through the pages. I haven't finished one, a little dink off my left foot for a while. Do you know what? I might do that. Or, this one's going to go top bin outside of the right foot. If you look at his finishing,
every single different,
he's covering
repertoire.
Every area. And his imagination for a goal, because he has to see that before he does it. I think there's a goal against Everton, Matt Jackson. He lifts it over one side, lifts it over the other, and then just plants it over the keeper. Yeah. It's like, It's poetry, isn't it?
But how
Emotion.
did he practice that? Because obviously that was something that I
That's a
looked at and I was
natural-
thinking, obviously I'm a totally different player.
He
to
wasn't
Ian Wright.
practicing that against me because he wasn't getting that time and space on the training
No.
pitch. But he used to love, come on, you need to get tight to me because he wanted that training. I loved that about him. And when he left, actually, because he was like an Eddie Murphy type character, and I thought maybe the training, it might dip a bit because he was the
You
funniest
could
man on
hear
the planet.
Wrighty down the corridors. Yeah.
Was it as good as from as an outsider, and I know Wrighty a little bit, and I've always enjoyed his company. But what was it like around the training ground?
Do you know, talking to Stephen Hughes recently, you remember Hughesy? Hughesy was saying it was like reading a comic book through the week, putting it down on a Saturday or in midweek, and then play your game, win, lose or draw, mostly successful, and then pick up that comic book again and start the laughing. And it was all like Mickey taking, but it was done at the right, we protect the young players. It was all done, in the right way. No one was pushing too far. And they were great days. Everyone sat where they had to sit on the bus. I sat next to Dennis and Overmars for about 4 years. They're great time. I saw Dennis the other day, and Dennis is a mischievous lad. He's the same. He hasn't changed. You've got to have that eye for fun and comedy and humour because you can't do the success without it. People see this intensity about me, but I'm looking for comedy all the time, every day. Even sat here, maybe it's been quite a serious chat. In my book, I have Maurice Gran in there because he's a fantastic listen and commentator, funny guy. And that I want, you have to bring that out. I'm pretty certain Liverpool are top of the table now, but they're laughing and enjoying every minute of it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you say here. Just on the, with England, before we go, how did you feel that went for you? Could it have been better? Did you enjoy your experiences?
You played some big games, didn't you, for England? Wow.
Well, I didn't get in the England team until I was 26, and I'm the 7th oldest outfield player to play for England. So what was going on there? Well, there was a big gap. I broke my shoulder, which is now an issue, playing for England. The knee, my patella tendon came off the knee playing in '92. Seemed to get injured a lot playing for England. There was a lot of false dawns, shall we say. Didn't make it into the '96 squad, and I felt I should have done. And there was a period when I saw people going into the squad and thought, I think I'm better than them, and I couldn't get in. So when we beat we beat Germany in Charleroi in 2000, it was like a game I should have played 4 years previously because that was Germany put us out of. So I kind of was really doubly determined to get something from that. But no, I wouldn't swap it. I captained England on one occasion, didn't make it to 50 caps, but probably should have done. Could have done 97, 98. Gareth Southgate saying to me, I'm embarrassed. You should be playing. We just won the double. We were playing a back three. I was really suited to that. Glenn Hoddle telling me that I'll play later in the competition when it gets more difficult. Called me old-fashioned. I thought it was difficult from the beginning. So, we got all of these things. But, you look back and you think, well, okay, I'll take nothing. I wouldn't change anything. I could have played for Ireland, by the way. This is the irony. Growing up in Oxford, it's discrimination that I suffered as a kid. People still see me now and say, we thought you were Irish. Christ, you're playing for England all these years later. So no, that and arguably at that period, when Jack Charlton wanted me in the Irish team, their central defenders were better than the English ones. That's the irony of it.
Yeah. Who'd they have there? Paul McGrath, Steve Staunton?
Paul McGrath, Mark Lawson just stepped out. So they had some really good. Yeah, Steve Staunton was coming in, wasn't he, at that point?
Yeah, but most importantly, Martin, I've got you as a coin in that album. Do you remember that album collection that came out with the coins and got you Crouchy as well? Do you ever keep those sort of things, Martin?
Someone showed me that the other day, actually. Yeah.
That will resonate with a lot of people mid-30s. That's a core memory.
They handed it to me like I wanted it back. And I said, well, no. Why are you bringing me that? You put it. Should that have not gone in that book? So
And Martin, why the book now? What made you do it now? And
well, my two sons, one's now coaching, was a professional footballer. The other, a journalist, doing what I do now. Both said, Dad, there's a lot of stories. You need to get this down. And there's so many other stories as well. Let me tell you, try your best to get it in the book. And also this thing of this onset of dementia, when the figures came out that you're 5 times more likely to get dementia if you've been a central defender. I thought, wow. I'm always, when you meet former colleagues and you meet older players, you're kind of like, well, maybe I better start telling these stories to get something down in writing. So it was driven by that. And hopefully people read it, enjoy it. I've tried to be as honest as possible. It's kind of like my reflection of the dressing rooms I was in. People will have a different take on it. Many people have written their books before me, the dressing rooms I've been in, but this is my take. Some strong stuff in there. The Everton stuff is I haven't run away from, they call me Bob, whatever you want to do. But, it's not, I end up in my second world of co-commentating in a World Cup final. So that wasn't bad for Brendan Britton, really.
Yeah, exactly right. Well said,
right.
mate. Well said.
Croucher, you've done 4 books. Any advice for the promo side of it for Martin? Yeah.
I feel like you're doing a great job, Martin. Keep it up.
You're out of order asking questions. He's the one who asks the questions.
Right, I'll be honest, Martin. Ross does a great plan for us. Not one thing on the plan there was asked. All of it.
Sorry about that.
No, do you know why? Because it all came from an era, and we were both footballers. I'm a Chris Keane fan, and we watched some of your teams, watched some of your performances. Part of our kind of growing up, as a matter of fact, and then obviously our current when I played against you, and I know you, and now I work with you on TNT. So to hear those stories from you, and I don't sit down and say to you, Martin, tell me this, tell me, I'm dying to know this. So to get the chance to do it was great, and obviously I'm sure the book will do really well, and we're really pleased to have you on.
Thanks for the platform. It's a pleasure, really, to sort of look back. You never really look back enough when you on your careers. It's quickly over. I talk about in the book as well that it happened to someone else, and when I meet people in the street, they stop me to say, hey, God, it's fantastic what you did for us, and they have to know that the pleasure was all mine, and it really was.
Yeah, all right, brilliant, thank you. Thanks again, Martin Keown, everybody. Right, lads, I have to say that was so interesting listening to Martin Keown. Quite nostalgic in parts, and then brings it right back into the current kind of era. I had so many more questions. I could have done a lot more.
Oh, mate, you didn't stop. That's why we went for a 2-parter with this one. I hope, obviously, you listening right now can understand why we went for a double-ender for this one. But it did feel worth it, didn't it?
When someone's played at the top level and been in the dressing rooms, and even what you were saying about some certain players, like some of them stories there was great, and you don't get that. And knowing Martin that we do, he loves talking football, doesn't he? And like you said, it's either black or white. There's no grey area with him, and I think he come across really well. I'm looking forward to reading that book. Actually, I think it's going to be a great book. But a nostalgia episode, one that we can really crack into.
Yeah, this is something that I really want to do. Especially off the back of those, it just gets the juices flowing. And it doesn't take a lot these days, for me to get the juices flowing, and that really hit home for me, because that era of football, especially when I'm growing up and listen to the names you mentioned, is a breath of fresh air.
Should we do a couple of messages to finish us off then?
Yes, let's.
All right, we've got one here. No name from this one. By the way, always feel free to send in messages to the podcast, right? Our email is peter.crouch@acast.com. No name on this one. Says, hi lads, this has been one of my favourite series and I've been a fan of the pod since the beginning. Wow. That's good to hear.
Yeah, brilliant.
Goes on to say, if we're talking nostalgia, then perhaps does the 13-14 Super Sunday intro for Sky Sports count? The era of the gold dust behind iconic players for each team and the big golden lion, all to the tune of Written in the Stars by Tiny Temper. Very good shout. This one in particular I thought was worth a look because it features Peter Crouch and Steve Sidwell.
Oh, no way.
I provided a link for you. I wasn't aware you were both in the same titles.
I didn't even know
I'll be honest, I didn't know.
This is huge. That was you, Crouch.
No, don't think it was.
Oh, Sidney.
Right, so unbelievably nostalgic there. Sid's fantastic there. Slight disappointment for me. I don't think any of them were me.
No, you're in there, but it's not your face, is it?
I don't think that was me.
That was you.
I don't think that was me. I got a feeling one of them was Ryan Shawcross.
No, Shawcross.
Shawcross.
And the other again.
The other one you pointed to with like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was Fletcher. Ryan Shawcross.
Yeah.
That's not
That's
me.
you.
No. Sunderland.
Oh, he's got tattoos.
Tattoos all over him.
I could have sworn that was you.
Well, again, it was very nostalgic, and I loved it. And I was a part of that era, I think, at some stage, but just not on the opening credits.
Should we get into 11?
Yes. We've got a London Underground 11.
I heard about on the way in that there was a London Underground 11 that we were going to talk about today, which obviously I'm very excited for. But it's been a game changer for me now when I'm on the tube. If you're in London and you see all the stations on there, because now you can try and make footballers of every single one of them.
But that was my thing we used to do. We've talked about this on the pod before. Really in the early days, you might not remember it, Chris, but that was something, again, I used to play with my mates.
No, but you'd give clues, wouldn't you?
You'd basically give you could always just do like the names, but you'd put them in a mystic way.
Yes, it'd be like genital lager.
Yeah. Genital lager. Obviously,
What would that be?
Mine was Vagina Heineken.
I don't know.
Vagina Heineken on the Piccadilly line, right at the end of it.
Cockfosters.
Great, he's in now.
You're in now, right? So that was the game. An absolute melting game. But obviously, if you're ever on the London Underground and if you see someone chuckling, you know they're playing well, I think we should actually call it the Vagina Heineken game.
Brilliant.
But we've been sent a London Underground 11. We're starting goal with David Bourbon Seaman, Wayne London Bridge, Breda Hanger Lane, Dund, Ledley King's Cross St Pancras, St Paul's Konchesky, David Tooting Beckham, Steve Shadwell, Musa, Dem Elephant and Castle. Dem Bellefonds and Castle.
Dem Musa, Dem...
Regent's Park G Sung, Wayne Waterlooney, P Terminal 5 Heathrow Crouch.
It's a good attempt.
Great attempt.
Surely you go Crouch End.
Yeah, Crouch End, yeah. It's just on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ben Cock-Fosters, Ashley Colindale, Zlatan Ibra Victoria, Sallow Monument Clue, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
Yeah.
A good 11 does the job.
Good 11.
That's tough, that.
It's a good 11.
Again, not pleased, Chris, really.
No. I just think...
I think they've tried to think outside the box, and some of them are... Yeah, he's forced a couple, but...
I think we'll just carry on playing Vagina.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
What was it? Vagina beer?
Vagina Heineken.
Vagina. I couldn't remember, sorry.
You call it Vagina beer, that's a good name.
All counts, doesn't it?
All right. I feel like we're done there. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, back stronger next week, yeah?
Less zoning next week.
Zone in next week.
I was zoned in. I just thought I'd reached the natural conclusion.
You just got a bluey there. See you later.